The person told me Mrs. Casson wanted to see me. So I journeyed in my motorcycle to see Mrs. Casson. She said, I heard you build nice houses. I built some for most people coming from Aruba and so forth. She says, I have a piece of land in Indian Bay. I want to build a house, a beach house. It was about 1962. Because while I was building that house, I remember someone called out to me, they just shot John Kennedy, President Kennedy. I charged her $16,000 furnished to build that house. And she decided to give me a deposit of $3,000. That was like 25 or 40. I remember the bank staff told me, I see you get a push, you make a good deposit. Making a deposit of $3,000 in that age, she was like, you're doing it for 30 or 50 now. That's the deposit. That was my sweetest money.
In the 1950s, all of Mom's siblings were migrating to Canada. Mom was behind him then to join him. Dad did not like the idea, but just to please her, he went for a short visit. He quickly summed up that that was not the life he wanted. So he came back home and rattled his brain about what to do about her persistence. So he bought a piece of land in Cane Garden and started building a house of his own. He did not tell her about it. He sent her off to Canada for a vacation and worked hurriedly on the house. When she came back, she was all ready to go again, permanently this time. So Dad took her to Cane Garden and showed her his dream house, hoping that this would change her mind. She was ecstatic about the house. After all, it was a far cry from the one that we were living in then. Everyone was all excited about moving.
In 1967 is when we moved to Cane Garden, and I remember that clearly. I think he had might have been I think it's an Angler, and we used that to make a trip back and forth. And I remember I wanted to go with the car back and forth, transferring the stuff from house to house, and I was told, "Oh, you're too small. You need to stay at the new house in Cane Garden." So I made one trip, and I was told to stay here while the others went back and forth, transporting all the personal belongings back and forth.
In 1967, he moved the family into the much bigger and comfortable house in Cane Garden. He did not forget his spacious basement, which housed his furniture shop and later his hardware. He was always a busy man, working day and night.
He worked before the peep of dawn to long after the setting of the sun. And something that he introduced to contractors would take on certain jobs and just leave guys. But he made sure that as often as possible, not only his presence, but he made his presence felt in the workplace. And it had a motivating factor on his workers.
One of the things that stand out for me with that house, when we got to the flooring, it was a holiday. No, it ended the Friday, but then the Monday was a holiday. The guys never said that they didn't have lacing wire to tie the steel. But Mr. Gibson was coming around all the time. So when he came that Monday morning and the guys turned up to work, everybody said, "Oh, we can't work." Up came Mr. Gibson in his white Mazda, the number 6367. And while we there, he asked how we not starting. I said, "These guys told me they don't have lacing wire." Mr. Gibson went in his car and there he had lacing. From there, I have so much respect and everything.
He was determined to reach the top of the ladder of success and to provide for himself and his family. In Cane Garden, he built over 45 houses. He ventured out in the first big project in 1966, This was the Young Island Resorts.
John Hauser sent and called me. Hauser came out in his morning gown. And I told him that the bank manager told me he wanted to see me. He said, "Yes, Gibson." Says, he says, "I'm having some problem." Apparently he had started, and he was meeting, and the problem. He wanted somebody with push. So I told Mr. Hauser, "Yes, I'm available." So he asked some reference. I used to work at the bank, but not big jobs. I used to do repairs work for the bank, and you know what I mean? Like I built the garage for these banks put their cars. You see a garage at the back. Yeah. He asked me if I can build him a hotel. He started, but he didn't do much. I think they only built, they built the swimming pool and a changing room. And when they filled the pool up, another day or so the pool was nearly empty, leak out the water. And that upset Hauser. And he asked me if I'm tied up now. I said no, well, he had one house and I finished it and so forth. And he showed me the plans for Young Island. There was cottages, different cottages, and a bar and a restaurant. I remember laying out the bar. He said that was not, it wasn't well documented. He said that too big, small, build a bigger bar. Fellows would sit down, they want to be drinking, and the next one there to them, a big bar, you know. And you go in, there's a big bar and the restaurant. The pool was to be resurfaced and things like that. And I gave my assurance I could walk right now. You say you can walk next week, this weekend was coming to an end. As Monday, say yeah. Meet me over there and let me show you what I'll do. And that's how it started with Hauser. Well, Hauser had a plan. And he gave me his plan and he says, when you like to start here and build it higher ones later. Remember, I built right up and put a road and plenty of work. I had 300 people working there. Carpenters and tradesmen. Materials came and the government told us we cannot use the sand in Young Island. So we had to bring sand straight to Young Island, dock near the aquatic club and bring it over. There was a problem. They said Hauser wanted the white sand and nothing interrupt. So we had to drag sand over. So it take long because we worked there for over 2 years. But what is best with me, I had good foremen. I remember them as good as ever, which is Mr. Thomas, Mr. Jack, and one that I read up who worked with me at the house in Rose Cottage, named Avil Lewis. He was my carpenter foreman, mason foreman, general foreman. Well, as I out after Young Island and I come in the morning, himself is 9 o'clock and so on, I come on the dock, park my car and I do so, speedboat was coming for me. The boss suit. Hauser want to have problems, you wait until I come to ask you. I don't know how I manage, but I have sometimes wonder how I got through such a big project with 300 men working.
It was a stressful time for him, managing over 200 workers on that project while building 4 other houses and managing his furniture shop all at the same time. He was so taken up in his work schedule that he would sometimes forget to collect us at school.
I worked in the cobblestone construction for 2 years. When I do the cobblestone, it was just a sugar factory. We used to pack the sugar by the bags. I changed the whole concept, and then they want to make sure it can bring profit to what these such a people would sell watches and all that. They run a restaurant here, and to the middle street they had 2 shops to sell tours and so forth. I was upstairs up that big, looking to the middle street. There was Gurney Gibson's first construction office.
Sometimes when he got home for lunch, minus us, Mom would ask where are the children. Then he would have to go running back into town to bring us home. After doing this for quite a while, it was getting too hard on him to leave his jobs to pick us up. So he had to buy a very small car for Mom so that she could relieve him of this duty.
I wanted her to learn to drive so that I would be more free and she could guide her into school and ease me up. Because when she learned to drive, after she learned to drive, I went and bought a Fiat car for her. You remember the Fiat? They used to call it the Crab. A little two-door thing. She fit in. Excellent.
Although he was going through the busiest times of his life, he was still not satisfied to stop there. He had a great urge to go further and to do better. Because of his experience with building materials, the idea of opening a hardware business surfaced in his brilliant mind. He toyed with the idea for a while and finally decided to give it a try. In 1979, he started an outlet in a part of his basement at King Garden.
Here was the workshop. You have a machine was there, one was here, one was there. The workbench was there. Yeah, one there, one here and one here. And all up there, lumber to pack up.
It began to get to the point where the business was growing and customers would start coming to the house on weekends and after hours, and at that point you realize it's time to get a store. We needed more space to store the things, and that's when he really got started in business. And he continued doing construction for many years after that, but at that point is when he sort of branched out from being just total construction and it's trying to do it partial and part-time and focus on the business, get the business off the ground.
I think one of the things that really brought out my father to sell building materials is when he did the medical college. That set the pace, I think. It was a big boost for him, both financially and the volume of materials he had to use and the building and medical college. He started to import his own stuff and so on. But before that, what my father used to do, right? He is a man who used to go and check the currency at the bank. In those days, we were tied to the pound, right? So when the currency, when the pound is going up, he go to the other hardware stores and buy out like steel and so on. Because when the next shipment come in, they will have to price them higher. So he buy these things, bring them home King Garden, and we sell them, make a little profit on it. That's how we start to sell building materials.
When he came into the hardware business, there were about 3 established hardwares in town.
Hazel's, Curry's and PHV, 3 only. No small people in between.
He was able to, overnight to sell his materials substantially less than what they were selling at that.
When I took over selling hardware, I was the most wanted man against the merchant, the general merchant. I took a brave step to compete with them. He says he's running a competition against us. Slow as I come, can write them to settle. They got wages.
And I think it's my father who helped the construction industry, develop at that pace as the way it had, because he was able to sell the materials so much lower than what they were selling before.
The merchants overseas used to give me a lot of leeway. I would order $10,000 of material and they gave me 2 months to pay for it. So I sell it and then pay for it.
As a result of that, people were able to build homes, and as a result of that, now the other, established hardwares, they in order to be competitive, they had to reduce their markup on their materials also. So the consumers, they benefited, and I think if it's one person that construction industry, really, I have to say thanks to is my father, in St. Vincent.
I had materials, see, and that time I only had that part over there. And I had materials because by doing big jobs and I building houses and sell, I ordered this material and I put them here, and then some of the other contractors and the other fellows who build like Bunting and some others started to buy things because I was telling them, if you get it up there for $60 or $600, I was telling you for $540 or $550. That's why I started. I didn't actually fight and to work out too much details, how much it cost me. Sometimes I just go away with others selling and look down. I didn't have the time because I was busy. But when the people hear that it was $5 to save or $10 to save, they bought mine and then study even who I got to, that's what I started.
Starting the hardware business was a big financial strain for him. He faced his bankers, asking for loans to get the business off the ground. They had confidence in him and encouraged him, although being firm with him. There were times when meeting his payments were a great struggle, but things got better as the years went by. Between 1980 and 1998, he purchased 4 properties in Kingston. Over the years, Dad would always tell us how grateful he is to Mr. Cropper and Mr. Hidder, who was the bank manager and assistant at the time of his struggles in life.
I had returned to St. Vincent in June 1971 as manager of Barclays Bank, and I remember that he was recommended to me by my then accountant, later assistant manager, Monty Cropper, as somebody rising in the repair and small construction business. And we used his services and we were very satisfied. So we continued to do that over the years. He did borrow money, but when he did, he had carefully thought out what he needed, and he knew what he wanted to achieve. And he wasn't greedy in that he never overextended himself. And that is, I think, the key to his success, that he built one step at a time, climbing steadily upwards. His requests were reasonable. He knew what he wanted. And he was a very reliable person who did what he said he would do. And that made my life very easy.
Mr. Cropper encouraged him a great deal. He was an inspiration to Dad. They both trusted him and obviously saw the unique qualities that Dad had in him. Many times when Dad would talk about properties that were on the market for sale, he would be reluctant because he knew he didn't have the money. But these 2 gentlemen would bend over backwards and see to it that his dreams were fulfilled. As the saying goes, behind every successful man is a wise woman.
I think she was like the anchor for him, kept him, stable so he can focus on his business. And she was the mainstay for the family, the kids. Without her, I don't know how he would have managed, to raise us, by himself. So she was there for us. She was always there for us.
All through those early years, Mom watched her pennies on either side before spending them. Money was very precious to them, and she handled Dad's finances in a very responsible way. We were made to understand that we have to make do with what we have. Everything was shared equally among the 4 of us. Mom acted as a wife, a mother, a housewife, a secretary, and a driver in the early days. We were all encouraged to participate in some way or other in whatever Dad was doing in business.
Eddie, there where he make a few dollars when he was going to school. In those days, the speaker box is making. So he buy the speakers, he put them in the box, and he sell it, and he make a few dollars. Then they make hangers for clothes, And what else again? Different little things they made in the workshop from these pieces of wood. It was really good. Yeah, those children, they grew up industrious. They put their hand to do all these little things, just like their father.
He used to put us to sand and so in the workshop, help him. And also not too far from where he lived in was his father, and they have a workshop also. So we children was moving from both workshops. My grandfather and my father workshops.
He'll take me to the jobs during vacation. Little boy, 6, 7, 8 years old, and at that time he had probably about 5, 6 jobs, and he always, especially after lunch, in the morning we would be allowed to play, so I'd be playing with the other siblings. But after lunch we would go on the jobs. He would take me on the jobs, see what work is like,
I could remember our favorite toys was 2 4-wheel carts that they made, equipped with wheels and brakes and everything like that. And we would go riding all over the place with them.
And then we started to build like wooden planes, wooden airplane, yeah. And we used to build we started building like a crib, baby cribs and so, like mostly children things before we venture out to other things.
But sometimes these brakes would fail, and it's like everybody just gone all the way down the road, and come home all battered and bruised up. And then Mom would just pack us in the car and take us to the beach, sap it with the salt water, bring us back home,
Although it was ups and downs and hard life, I had a happy life because I was content and my wife was content with whatever condition we arrived. I enjoyed every bit of it with happiness and joy.